Hello, and welcome back to the Blaise XPerience once again. I am your host, Derreck, as always, and you are joining us for episode 82 today. And for this episode, we're going to get back into some State of Decay 2. It's been a couple episodes since we talked about it, because we had some other games to get into with the Dead by Daylight content release and the Sea of Thieves content release, but now we're getting back to it, and we're coming back to it at a great time, because this is the week that is the 1-year anniversary of State of Decay 2, so we're jumping back into it, and I thought it would be kind of cool to do a anniversary sort of themed episode where we're going to talk about the top 10 changes to State of Decay 2 in the first year. So this episode is basically going to be all the changes that happened in State of Decay 2. We're going to pick a list of 10 of them. It can be anything that's a major content release, like a DLC, or it could be just, one little bug fix or one little note in a patch. Whatever it is, anything that was a change in the first year, that is going to be what's on our list here. But before we get into that, just a couple of news items at the top. Our next stream is going to be Sunday, 12 to 4 Eastern. That's going to be the finale of the Borderlands 1 storyline. So I'm right at the part where we're going to do that final vault. So if you want to check that out and see what the ending of that is, then come check that out on Sunday with me. And then Monday, we're going to play some Life is Strange Season 1. I've never played this before, but this is our Game Pass Game of the Month, where we pick a random game from Game Pass for the month, and that was the game that was chosen. So we're going to play some Life is Strange Season 1. Hopefully get through the first 2 episodes. Try that out. And then on Tuesday, we're going to be back into more State of Decay 2. And this is likely going to be a Daybreak stream because one of my community members wanted to play some Daybreak to get some unlocks. So I told him that's fine with me. So we're going to probably do Daybreak at that stream. So that'll be a lot of fun. And then our next podcast, which is going to be next Saturday, 1 week from today, it's probably going to be a Borderlands 1 episode where I'm going to have some guests on to talk about the whole Borderlands 1 game, some of the storylines, some of the features of it, and things like that as we ramp up for Borderlands 3 coming later this year. But without further ado, we do have 2 guests here today. We have one guest making a return appearance. They were last seen on episode 65 as they went over what happened in Undead Trials 3 with me. They were my partner in that adventure there with another player, Zombie. Please welcome back to the stream, Coconut Kid 123. How are you?
Hey, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks for coming back. It's been about 20 episodes since we've been back, but I'm glad you came back.
Yeah, no problem. I mean, I love being on your podcast. I love supporting you in any way I can, so just
Appreciate it.
Another opportunity to do so.
I'll have to get you another couple mountains then.
Yep.
But we do have one other guest here with us today, and this is their first appearance on the podcast, and I'm honored to have, for the first time, one of the great Twitch streamers in the community. Please welcome Fallout Girl 4. How are you, Fallout?
Hi, how are you? Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, thanks for coming on. I've kind of wanted to get you on for a while, and this is a perfect occasion, I think, so.
Oh, finally got here. Let's do this. It's going to be fun. Good times.
Exactly. So I think we're all very equipped with what happened over the year with these changes, so we're going to have some lists. We all have our own top 10 list here, and we're going to kind of go through those lists. But before we do that, just a quick recap for anyone that wasn't aware of any of the changes. There were 2 DLCs throughout the year, the Independence Pack and the Daybreak DLC. And then over the year, there's been 8 official content releases, including patches 4.1, 4.2, things like that. But 8 official number releases, which had large content updates, including the Zombie Hunter and Choose Your Own Apocalypse updates. So it's been a great year, and I've really enjoyed what has actually come to the game this year. I hope you guys liked it.
Yeah, it's a pretty good game, I guess. Whatever.
It's a pretty good game. It's an awesome game.
I love State of Decay.
So do I.
One of my favorite games of all time. I'm just messing.
Same.
So were you both happy with the changes that came out for the first year and all the content we got since launch?
Oh, absolutely. I love all the new content. Some of it I use a lot more than others, but yeah, definitely very, very happy with what has come out in the past year.
Yeah, you gotta commend UL because they always do such
Absolutely.
a great job listening to everyone, and that's one of the key things that I took into account when making my top 10 list, things that not only that I enjoyed, but that I know the community asked for, and that I know the community really, appreciated and responded well to, so can't go wrong with that.
And I'm actually glad you brought that up, too, because I was going to ask you both how you actually did your list, because you can do your list in different ways. I mean, you could do it, what was the biggest content release? You could do, what was the smallest things that meant the most to you? So there's really different ways to do this. And for me personally, I kind of went about it that, what actually meant the most to me as a content update. So it could be like a little patch note. It could be a big content release, but what gave me the most value is basically how I did my list. How about you, Father?
Oh, same. No offense to the community, but I went by, because I play a lot with my friends, so I went by, I talked to some of them, and I was like, what did you think was what are your favorite things that happened throughout the year, with the game? And they gave me a few things too, playing together. And, it's stuff that made the game more enjoyable for me, and obviously some of the stuff made it a little more crazy, but definitely had definitely just my personal experiences in the game.
So you kind of took community involved as well, Coconut, or were you more like us and just kind of took your own personal touch on it?
I guess kind of like subliminally I added the community because obviously like I see it all the time on the Discord, like I see what people are saying and how they're responding to certain things, so I'm like, that kind of stuff, those conversations resonate with me, and that kind of sticks with me and changes my personal opinion, so that probably had some kind of effect on how I made my list, but it was mostly personal, with a few moments of, oh, well, I guess this one's a little bit more up there because someone said this, and that had a good point and whatnot.
Yeah, and that's fair, because, I mean, this is all opinion, which we should, remind the audience. I mean, there's people that are going to be out there that are going to be like, oh, well, Independence Pack was number one for me. If that's true, then hey, more power to you. Whatever you like. I mean, this is just our opinion on what we thought was, most important to us out of the first year.
Absolutely.
But before we get into our top 10 lists, do you guys have any honorable mentions that didn't make your list that you want to shout out? We'll start with you, Fallout.
Well, I was going to see if any of my stuff was duplicated or stolen from me before I gave my alternate. But, but I'll give one now, because,
all right, go
just
for
in case. I really, really enjoy having the Clio weapons from Daybreak in the main game. I like the, being able to gather up your prestige, especially in Nightmare. It really helps out a lot. The blast rifle and the Clio longbow blade are my favorite, from that. So those are definitely honorable mentions on my list. I didn't make the top 10, but they're real close.
Yeah, and I definitely appreciate those too. Just for me, that's not something that made it to my list either, because I don't actually use them enough. I just stick with the weapons I'm already used to in the base game, so I don't actually pay for them enough to actually warrant putting on my list. But definitely worth mentioning for sure.
And
do you have any?
Yeah. With mine, like, I wanted to add it as number 10, but, like, I don't really use it. I just know that a lot of people really appreciated it. It was going to be the ability to turn off the weird or wacky zombies, like the independent zombies and the clowns and the cone heads and all that. Like, I'm a big immersion guy. I love immersion. I make my own stories when I play the game. I like to get involved and deep with my characters. And that can be ruined a few times when you see, like, a George Washington-esque zombie running towards you right next to a SWAT zombie with a traffic cone on his head. So I can appreciate why they added it. I like the idea, the immersion factor, but it just didn't cut the top 10 list.
Fair. Yeah, I mean, for me, like, I left that on because, to me, it's just kind of funny when you do see them. You don't see them often enough that, like, when you do say it, it's like, oh, there's traffic cone outside. That's cool. So.
Yeah, I just retconned it in my mind, like, oh, I guess there was a Renaissance fair, or not would it be a Renaissance fair? I don't, like a Colonial Williamsburg, like next door to Cascade Hills.
My God.
Shout out to Colonial Williamsburg. Not sponsored.
Funny that you say that, actually. On Tuesday when I was playing, I actually had a mission spawn that one of my characters, they were looking for where they were last at the Renaissance fair with their son. So that's actually some of the text in one of the missions. So.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
it's one with a mace, right, or something like that, where you get the sword and stuff.
I think it might be, yeah, because it was like, go to this location where you were at the Renaissance fair with your son. And I'm like, okay. Like, I guess we had a Renaissance fair at this house, whatever. But for me, I had a couple of honorable mentions that these are probably ones that are going to be really specific to me, and that's kind of why they were honorable mentions, because I didn't feel they were, big enough value overall, but they were something that I wanted to kind of call out. One of them was the RTX Piranha, which is one of my favorite guns. Back in, I believe, update 2.0 or 3.0, that got a new name and a new skin. It used to be called the Ultra Compact Vector, I believe. And in that content update, they gave it a new skin. They called it RTX Piranha, and honestly, the new skin looks really awesome on it. So that's one for me. And the other one I wanted to call out was the bell towers in the church and the announcer box at Whitney Field. They actually trigger really good sieges now when ring the bell or use the announcer box, because they didn't used to do that, and now they actually do. And it was really cool for me because they put that change in after listening to my podcast and realizing, oh, hey, this bell isn't actually working right. I'm like, hey, cool, And when I was actually on stream with Undead Labs, we actually tried that out for the first time after it got released. So that was kind of a special one for me personally.
Yeah, it's a valid one. I remember when that happened. Pretty cool moment.
Yeah, and I just tried it again in Nightmare on Tuesday. It didn't work as well. But I kind of lost some people, but hey.
Damn it, Jeff, get on that. Come on.
No, the bell worked great, but I just lost people.
Oh, okay. I thought you meant it was broken again. I'm like, oh, damn it.
That would be Brant's fault if it was broken.
Foiled again. Oh, yeah, hashtag blame Brant.
Hashtag blame Brant.
Yeah. Let's just say on Tuesday I had a very bad day at the office, but, it happens.
We all have those days.
Yeah. I pretty much lost about as many people as I've lost in the full year of playing in one day, so it's rough.
Yikes.
But I had Zombie playing with me. You know how he is. He just
so that's why you lost all your people, because you were playing with Zombie. That was the reason. Gotcha.
Burn.
Yeah, I love you, Zombie.
He doesn't. He was talking about you before we started.
No, we do love you, Zombie. Just, maybe next time if there's a horde of zombies around, try to help out a little bit instead of sitting in the house watching me. But...
Oh, you guys weren't playing the that mini game where he tries to get on top of the trailer in
No,
Trucker?
we weren't playing that one.
All right.
No, we love you, Zombie. It's all good. Don't worry about it. He knows we like to pick on him, so.
Yeah, no. It's all good. Good old masochist.
Moving on, so we will go to our number 10s now, and I'll start with mine. My number 10 on my list is the ability to unload ammo, which actually was just brought in. That was just brought in with 8.0, so that's very recent. And to me, this is one that's really good, and, a lot of times we had all these guns that you had all this ammo for, you weren't using the gun. You have 85 1022s in your locker. It's like, well, I can't use this ammo because I can't take it out of there. Now you can actually unload all that ammo and put it in the guns you want. And that's really key, and that's something that I'm glad they actually brought in the game now. But for me, it's number 10. It's not as important as some other stuff to me because I don't use it too often, but it is still important enough that it made my list.
That was my number 6. I'm just gonna throw it out there.
Yeah, that's on there for me somewhere, but I don't remember which one that was. It was one of my key ones. Actually, you know what? It was one of my key ones. I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm very tired.
See, if it made all three of our lists, so that does, bode well. That does say something, so.
Alright. Well, my number 10 was, a lot of my stuff has to do with Nightmare Mode on Figure Apocalypse. Apocalypse? It's morning, okay? Let's calm down. So a lot of it has to do with that, because I play a lot on Nightmare now, and it's just a lot of fun. But I really like that, in Nightmare Mode, you can't see any of the Zeds on the minimap unless you have scouting, which makes it much more difficult. You're just looting away, and normally I'm looking at the mini-map and trying to see if anything's coming at me, and next thing you know, it's 4 ferals. So, I actually like that it makes it's Nightmare. It's supposed to be hard. You don't want it to be easy. So, I actually really like that.
See, I completely agree with that. That definitely would have made my list, but, the thing I did with mine is I made it a lot more, vague, I guess you could say. So, I have the Choose Your Own Apocalypse update in its own category. Its own... number, yeah, just the whole, kit and caboodle instead of, the specific thing, because I didn't know, how in-depth I wanted to get, because I just love the Choose Your Own Apocalypse, but spoiler, that's up there.
Yeah, I just like very specific things about it, so that's why I put it.
I definitely agree with that, though, because there's nothing worse and better at the same time, where you're just, doing your thing, and then all of a sudden a feral pack comes out of nowhere and attacks you. It's like, oh shit, I had no idea that was coming. It's just... It sucks in the moment because it's like, oh damn, but after you actually get through it and you survive it, it's like, oh wow, that was kind of cool actually.
Exactly. It keeps you on your toes.
Yes, in the moment you're definitely cursing though. You're like, damn it.
Yep.
But I definitely appreciate that, and honestly, part of that, which I definitely want to call it too. You did mention the scouting. I do like how it actually is scouting more of a use now because before that, scouting really was the most useless skill in the game. Now at least it has some use, so at least there's some use to it now.
Oh, I get excited when I see someone get scouting. Like, yes.
Yeah, so at least
see you again.
I know.
So
but then I forget. And I go to another person, I'm like, oh, is this and I forget, I thought that one has scouting. And then I
hate
get
when that happens.
Because, yeah.
I run up to a zombie and I try slicing his head open with swordplay, and I'm like, oh, he doesn't have that. Great, I just got bit.
My favorite one too is when I think I have weapon handling on someone. I'm like, oh, I'll just unjam this. Oh shoot, I can't unjam that. I get slapped by a juggernaut.
Rest in peace.
So dang it. So Coconut, how about you? What's your number 10?
All right. So this one was actually a personal gripe with mine, and I probably should have put it up higher on my list. But at the beginning of the game, when we started playing, like we're talking launch, when you had that primo morale, everyone was happy, everything was going great, and you get those constant messages saying, "Oh, ants got into our food again. We lost food. Oh, we're doing great, but I just lost all this medicine. Oh no!" Like, when they added in the positive morale checks, like, where you could get food, like, I was rummaging through this and I found a few things, like, that made me so much happier because I was getting so livid, to the point where I actually think, it was even before I was a moderator, I messaged Jeffrey, I'm like, you need to change this right now, I'm losing my mind. Like, if they tell me one more time that I have ants crawling in my food and that's wasting food, like, you're in the apocalypse, ants are protein. Eat the ants. Like, what are you doing? You don't know, like, can you not survive? How did you make it this far? But yeah, personal gripe. See, so if that's my number 10, you can only imagine what the rest of them are going to be.
Really
It's honestly not a bad point, because, I mean, if you're starving, like, an ant is better than nothing. So.
Exactly.
I agree.
And it's like, oh, I got in a fight because this guy's breath smells bad. But, like, we're at 85 morale. Like, how could you be fighting with someone because they have halitosis? Like, go punch a wall or something. Get real.
Yeah, that one actually didn't make my list, but I'm glad you called it out, because that was something that was important to me. So it was nice, because I did get frustrated a little bit, just not to the degree you did, but, I mean, having, 90 morale or something, you shouldn't be losing all that stuff, and you shouldn't be having all these fights, because you're having good morale, so why is that happening? So that was really nice that they changed it.
Frustrated is a very strong word. I prefer overly passionate.
Are we sure?
Yes.
Are we?
Yes.
Okay. We'll let you stick with that.
I had to think about it for a second, but I'm going to settle in on overly passionate.
Coconut, just eat a mounds when you're hungry. You're not you.
You're not you without your mounds.
Exactly.
Isn't that Snickers?
Yeah, but we're ripping on it. It's an inside joke.
So. Oh, ew. I guess I'm not on the inside of it.
Yeah, you're not cool enough. I'm sorry.
I don't want you to be in your stupid joke anyways. Go on. Number 9.
Number 9.
So, number 9 for me is teleporting characters back to outposts when switching. That was also in 8.0, so that's another very recent one. And this one was pretty important to me, because it didn't actually happen to me, but I did hear that some other streamers were having issues in Nightmare where they switched a character, the character is supposed to walk back to base, and then they walk into a horde and they die before they get back to base. So I didn't actually have that happen, but hearing about that did sound pretty scary to me, because I don't want to lose my characters just because they're walking back on their own and I can control them. So that is a really important one, but because it didn't affect me as much before the change, that's why it's number 9 for me.
I personally was not a fan when I heard that was going to be a thing, because, like, as I said earlier, with the whole zombie thing with the clowns and stuff, like, I keep them in the game because, like, it doesn't bother me that much, but when I play, I like to be immersive with it, so just having people teleport back to my base kind of ruins that, like, risk factor of switching at an outpost. So, I mean, like, at first I was like, oh, I'm a little bummed with that, but then I understood that not everyone likes to play like that, and I respected the option to do that. Or not the option, but, like, the choice to do that instead, so I don't hate it, but I'm not, it didn't make my list.
Well, if you want immersion, just think of it this way. Think of every building in the map has an underground tunnel, and they go back that way.
Oh, there you go. So we're actually playing Fallout now, and they're actually all in vaults. Like, every single gas station is actually a hidden vault.
Yes! Oh, he's made me so happy.
They add in a bunker base at all in any State of Decay, I would cry.
Get stuck in the ground anyway, so that's probably what happens, right? They're just in the tunnels.
Yeah, they're actually all mole men from Fallout 76, the best Fallout ever.
Don't even talk about 76. Do not get me triggered today.
Best Fallout ever.
That's your favorite one, isn't it?
I'm gonna throw up next. He's gonna be back. Horrible. Don't get me started. Go on.
Well, then I guess we'll go to you next. What's your number 9?
Okay, so I know a lot of people complain about this, and I know I complain about it, but all in all, I actually really like the fact that how with the new in the Nightmare mode, I'm not sure how bad it is in Dread, with the crazy hostile enclaves headshots. I dread having to go, but I actually have to be thoughtful and be okay, so I don't want to take this person, and if I do take this person, I need to make sure that this person is ready, and I actually have to think and plan and be strategic about who I'm taking, what they're taking, and plan on where I'm going and how to approach the base, as opposed to just being oh, hostile enclave, let's go murder. It's just I like the whole strategic part of that.
No, I agree for sure, and that was a change that was definitely welcome as part of that new Choose Your Own Apocalypse update, because it really made planning more evident. In the standard mode, no one really planned in the standard mode. You just kind of went around. You're whatever, I'll do this. I'll
you
do
didn't
that.
need to.
Yeah, it's oh, there's Juggernaut there. Oh, cool, let's go dance. It's you never actually had any fear, and in Nightmare mode, I sometimes still forget. I don't know if both of you still forget, but sometimes I still forget it's not standard, and I'm oh wait, I can't just run in there and just tackle everything.
Yeah, don't do that. You will die.
I really enjoyed the whole, because a lot of people before the update came out used to do the whole scent block, bloater gas, zombie thing where they would just screw around with hostile enclaves. I'm just what's the point? You're just wasting resources. And then I played Nightmare, and I'm oh, I understand now. This makes a lot more sense because I can't do this by myself. I actually lost my first survivor ever, ever, doing a hostile enclave fight and completely underestimating it, thinking oh, well, I can do this. How many hours do I have in State of Decay? I got this. And then I got shot in the head, went into the fight for your life thing, and then a bloater snuck up behind me and completely gassed out my survivor. I'm yeah, okay then. That was interesting, and I was very angry. I don't think I played for another 2 days after that, because I was just
salty.
I was just so livid. I'm is that really? That's how I went out? My first survivor ever? I got shot in the head and then choked on gas. I'm great, thank you for that, game.
To be fair, though, in the real world, if you get shot in the head, you probably wouldn't have time to choke on gas. You'd just be out. So.
Canonically, he kind of got grazed in the head. We got to play with the figures a little bit.
Okay. You're just stretching it a little bit for yourself.
Yeah, we got to do a Game of Thrones. We got to kind of have to jump over certain plot holes. Forget about a few things.
Yeah, I'll say.
Yeah, we're not gonna get into Game of Thrones here. So.
Yeah, no, I don't. Season 8, great season. Continuing. I guess I'll do my number 9 now.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, so this one's kind of a tandem one, because they kind of came out in conjunction with each other, so I just put them together. The Red Talon nerf / fixes, so when they brought down the OP factor of Red Talon, and they kind of reworked some of the skills and hero bonuses, and then the addition to be able to buy the soldier skins instead of just the Daybreak operatives. So I am not one of those people that rely fully on Red Talon communities. I like throwing 1 or 2 into every community just to spice it up a little bit and get some gameplay differences if I'm getting bored of regular survivors and whatnot. So when I heard that they made the Red Talon operatives more like regular survivors, in the sense that they're still really good, but they're not oh my god, I can only play as Red Talon because everything else is garbage fire. It's not I like how they balanced it and how they added the ability to not just wear those baba.
No, I definitely agree with that, and it's worth mentioning too that any Red Talons you had before that change, they do stay the old way. So if you can't have any Red Talons from the past before that change happened, they are still the old way, just in case anyone didn't know that. So in case you're jumping back in the game after not playing for a while or something. But I definitely agree with you on the skins, especially because it really feels so impersonable to have those red talons with the mask on in the base game because you really don't end up caring about them as much because you can't even see their face. So it's just, some random guy or girl in a mask. It's like, oh, whatever, they died, okay, moving on. So, but if I could actually see their face, it's like, oh, okay, they're actually a person now. Like, they're not just, some soldier in a mask. Like, they actually have a character, they have an identity now. So I definitely appreciate that a lot, where you can actually have the old skin. But actually, my number 8 kind of goes in line with yours because my number 8 is having red talents in the base game overall. And I know we could always have, the general red talent communities. You can rarely get those in your community. But what I mean is the ones from Daybreak that are like the souped up contractors, with all the really special skills, all those awesome skills like that. Having those come into the base game, I thought was really cool because even though they were OP and now they're a little bit less OP, it's still really awesome to have that different playstyle, kind of what you're talking about, where you can change it up a little bit. You can go, okay, I want to have this, badass soldier now, and I'm going to use this badass soldier for a little bit and have some fun with it. Did you like having those in there, Fallout?
Yeah. I mean, like I said, I don't really use a lot of the red talent. I mean, when it first came out, I recruited a bunch of them, and for me, it's just not really something I really enjoy playing with them. So
that's fair.
I just don't really use them much. So I don't really have much of an opinion on it.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, I actually just recently ended my main community that I had for over 100 days, and I got rid of my entire locker. And one of the things I'm doing with my new main community is I'm not allowing red talent in that because I want to actually have a community that has no red talent allowed in it. So yeah. I'm going without red talent in that community. Then what I might do instead is just have a community that is only red talent to kind of have that variance there. So.
Oh wow.
Moving on. Yeah. What's your number 8?
Okay. I know you guys have got to have this on yours. Don't, but I'm going to be really, really offended. Just for the record. Okay, locker sorting. That was one of the things
That is on my list, yes.
Yes. Right from the beginning, my friends and I were like, what is happening? Like, in every game I play, I'm like really obsessive about it. Like, I want to know where my stuff is and everything sort of the way I like it. The fact that nothing was where it was supposed to be or went together was the most amazing thing to me ever. I am so happy that they finally fixed that or whatever. It's done. I'm happy.
Right, and that's why I actually went back through all the patches. I wanted to check and see, okay, am I forgetting anything that wasn't actually in the game originally? So I'm not going to reveal what number that is on mine yet, just because it did make it pretty high on mine, so I want to wait to reveal it, but that is definitely on my list.
All right.
But moving on to number 7 here. My number 7 is actually another one that was just a recent change. Inactive characters in a client's community now heal at the same rate as hosts, so it's also in patch 8.0. And this is where if Coconut or Fallout Girl were in my game, basically if I have an Infirmary 2, they're going to have their inactive characters heal in my game. And this is really something that's very important. The only reason I didn't make it higher on my list is because if you do play a lot of solo, it might not, be as important to you because it's obviously not going to affect you that way. And, maybe your friends have a lot of characters. So if, your friend has a 10-person community, it's not really going to be as important because they have tons of characters to switch between. But say your friend only has like a 3-person community, this is really important because they need those 3 characters to heal up when they're not being used.
Oh, yeah. I didn't even know that was a thing, so that's great. I'm happy. They don't last long. It is what it is. Next. Well, mine is, okay, so I am not good at stealthy things. I'm like more of like a run in and shoot 'em up type of player, typically. When they brought the crossbows, I actually really enjoyed the stealthy nature of the game, especially during like with the Choose Your Own Apocalypse and the Nightmare and everything. It made it not easier, but it definitely helped out a lot. You have to be stealthy at some point, definitely when you're playing that if you want to live. And the crossbows, I never really thought that I would enjoy them, and I really, really, really enjoyed them, especially the echo repeating. Oh my gosh. I found one and I was never so happy. I was jumping up and down on my screen. I was like, yes. and then my person died that had it, and then I had to go loot one. But that's okay, we got it back. But yeah, the crossbows, for sure.
See, that is also on my list, just higher up, so I won't say where till we get there, but that's also on my list, and I really had the same reaction as you, where when they first got, announced, I'm like, oh, crossbows, that'll be cool, but I wasn't, super hyped. I'm not like, oh my god, crossbows, that's what I've always wanted, but when I actually got to play with them, I actually loved them a lot more than I thought I would, kind of like you did, because, that repeating crossbow, or even the sniper or the hunting crossbow, those are so great with the scopes on there too, and the fact that you can craft bolts and you don't have to worry about ammo as often, the fact that they're light, they're, stealthy, they don't make any noise. I mean, there's so many great things about the crossbows, and I really didn't think I would love them as much as I do, but I love them a lot now. Alright, so my number 6 actually is one that was very early on. It was one of the first things that people were really happy about that came into the game. I think it was actually update 2.0, if I'm remembering right. But this is the unstuck command for vehicles, because a lot of people forget that when the game first launched, we didn't have that, and we only had unstuck for our characters. But your vehicles, if they got stuck, they were stuck, and whether you threw bombs at them, whether you use C4, they weren't budging. They were just stuck there for good, and you were out of luck. But now we actually have an unstuck command for vehicles, and I think we all kind of take this for granted now. But it's
I assure
something
you, I
that
do not
wasn't
take
in
it
the
for
game
granted.
originally. I'm really happy
It is actually way up there on my list because I had so many problems at the start of the game where I was just like, a hill, I can make it over that. And then 5 cars later, I had a pile up of just garbage on top of each other, trying to get other cars out of certain spots, and me just thinking, oh, this is the time that I can do it. So definitely, it's up there, but I'll talk about it later.
I don't ever get cars stuck, so...
We can't all be as perfect as you,
I
okay?
Know. I mean, I know. It's okay. Oh. Someday, maybe.
Well, see, I have this guy Zombie in my game, and he's
Second rip
like
of Zombie.
Force driver, so.
Oh yeah, pretty harsh. I got your back, Zombie. I don't know.
He's gonna listen to this after and be like, "Thanks."
I'll protect you. That's the way. Yeah, he needs it, apparently.
At least he has
Judging by Fallout's track record, he'd be dead within her community in about 5 minutes.
He's our partner in Undead Trials 3.
What's that supposed to mean? What do you got? You got something to say?
That's true. Yeah.
No, I mean I've said all I have to say.
You're just like,
you need to sit down, Shorty. Okay. Sit down.
Eat another mouths there. But yeah, that unstuck command was, very helpful early on. I'm really glad it's there, and I actually found it really interesting too in the recent live stream how Jeffrey was talking about how that actually worked, because how they got it to work is they basically have the vehicle spawn in an area that vehicles spawn for missions and things. So basically, they look for on the map the nearest location that vehicles are supposed to spawn in, and they just pop your vehicle there. So that's really cool about it.
Agreed. And I think it was Brian that said that, just because I believe so. I don't remember, but I think it was.
Oh, cool. Maybe it was Brian then. So
Brian Giammi.
Brian, if that was you instead.
I love that last name, Giammi.
It's hard to remember who's
fun thing to say.
Did that make your list at all, Fallout, or was that not your list?
That did not make my list because I don't wreck cars.
Well, yeah, I mean, when you only use garbage cars like the Norma, you kind of have to stay on the road.
Whoa! 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 Do not!
I don't, okay, without getting too off topic, I don't understand how anyone enjoys that car. But continuing. What's your number 6, Fallout?
You shush your pie hole. Wow. Wow.
Yes. What's your number 6?
No.
Getting Coconut Kid banned from the stream. That's what my number 6 is. Okay. Anyhow, so this is more something like I was really happy that it was fixed. So in the very, very beginning, the flashlights and the headlights were like strobe lights. And I wanted to play all the time, but after like 3 or 4 hours, I would get migraines from I couldn't go anywhere at night. I would have to stay, I could only like drive or loop like buildings inside of buildings during the day because I couldn't use my flashlight because the lights were just, it was so bad.
Yeah.
And it wasn't just me, it was a lot of people that I'd spoken to, and they fixed it, and I was like, oh, I can play freely again. So that's my number 6.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I mean, if you take stock in that more, I mean, for me, that wouldn't make my list, but I don't have that problem with the lights, so I definitely understand it if you do.
I couldn't play it. It would have been unplayable for me.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that because like not only that, but I'm sure like fans who were like epileptic or something like couldn't actually play the game at all or anything. So that, and I didn't have this on my list because I didn't think it was like a feature per se. It was more or less a bug fix, but I would couple that with the audio glitch. The lovely audio glitch.
I forgot about that.
Casually playing the game and the microphone, just everything blows up in your ears, and you're just like, okay, well now I'm epileptic and deaf, so that's great.
Yes, I forgot about that.
Yeah,
so
those were good times back in the day.
God.
No, they were not.
they were not even sarcastically good times. Like that was just the worst thing ever. I wouldn't wish that upon my worst enemy. You know how many, like, I play State of Decay ironically to relax sometimes. Like, I don't always play just to get an intense experience. Like, even before, like, this was mostly before the update came out with the difficulties and everything. Like, I would play just to chill, enjoy myself, be driving down the road and just hear in my ear. I'm like, okay, well, I'm done playing for the night.
Yeah, and it was, and I jump scare. That was.
Yeah, I guess I got very lucky because for me it only happened once or twice ever until they fixed it. So I got very lucky.
Every time I got in a car, it happened. So.
It's pretty bad. Yeah.
What's your number 6 though, Coconut?
My number 6 is choosing maps when starting a new community with like the rolled groups instead of just the tutorial groups. Like, that was a big thing with me. I would always get those perfect survivors. I would love them, and then I'd start a map on the worst map ever, Drucker County. Worst map ever, running for president. I will eliminate that map completely from the board because...
I love that.
No, everyone loves this map. I don't understand it. Everyone loves this map and hates Cascade, and I love Cascade and hate that map. So.
I like Cascade.
Like, I mean, I just don't like driving on Drucker. But regardless, I love the fact that they added the option to pick maps when you're doing the rolled communities, and the UI that was added in with it. Like, they could have just easily been like a text screen, like, okay, pick this, this, this. So whoever worked on the UI for that map selection, bravo to you, because it is beautiful. So thank you. That is my number 6.
Yeah, I mean, that didn't make my list because I didn't care too much what map I went on to, but I was getting frustrated in the first couple months of the game where I seemed to always get Drucker every time. So I basically got really used to Drucker. Yeah, so I got really used to Drucker very fast. So that's kind of why today I still, kind of know Drucker the best, because for the first couple months of the game, I got Drucker like all the time, and I only ever got Cascade once out of the whole time. So
I think I might cry.
I had any experience with Cascade.
I would legitimately cry.
Oh, suck it up.
Container fort, best fort. Don't at me.
Yeah, I won't at you because you're wrong. So
exactly.
I like the strip mall like every other normie that plays this game.
No, strip. No, like whoa! I like the truck stop.
Oh my god! All right, why am I even on a podcast with you people? You clearly don't understand the beautiful. But Lock and Key is on Cascade, and you just said you don't like Cascade.
It is.
I don't like
I didn't say that.
Oh,
except for the storage. Storage is okay.
It's alright.
No, that was Paul that didn't like that. My least favorite is probably Meager. I'm not really a huge fan of Meager.
I don't mind it. Like, I use it mostly for speedruns and stuff. Like, if I'm just, like, playing through or getting a quick legacy, because it's just easy to navigate.
I appreciate how easy it is to drive, but besides that, there's no bases on Meager that I'm really like, wow, that's a base that I love. Like, a ton. So most of the bases I like more are on Drucker.
Yeah, without getting, like, too out there, like, I definitely completely agree with that. Like, Meager is not a standout, in my opinion. Like, I don't like Drucker because of driving, but I love the maps on Drucker. Like, I really wish I played more Drucker, just because of the, like, the bases and stuff. Like, those are beautiful, but, yeah. Yeah.
Every map has its standouts somewhere. So
I'm by no means am I saying that, like, it's a garbage map or anything. Right. Like, I'm just saying that it's not my favorite.
Is still a full base.
Oh, yeah. Love that base, so. Yep. Agreed.
Alright, moving on from me. This is one that a lot of people probably wouldn't have on their list, I would think. But for me, the UI indicators for items on the ground, because originally when we first got the game, when things were on the ground, or just a random bag on the ground, you didn't know what the hell it was. But I forget what patch update it was, but at some point in the updates, they actually put little icons on the bag. So now you know, okay, I'm picking up what looks like a melee weapon. I'm picking up a gun. I'm picking up, a bandage, you can actually tell what you're picking up a little bit, or you're picking up ammo. So that is really handy, and it's something that is definitely very helpful that I really appreciate, because early on in the game, you were just had a random bag on the ground, and you're like, I don't know what this is.
I completely agree with that, and I feel kind of foolish that that's not on my list, because that's a really good one. I think that it got added in with I think that got added in with Daybreak. That's why a lot of people probably didn't realize it, because I can almost swear that in Daybreak was the first time I saw that there was an icon, like when someone dropped a bandage for me. I'm like, oh, that's new.
I don't think it was at the Daybreak launch.
It wasn't.
I think it was one of the. No, I think it was a little bit after the Daybreak launch.
Okay, yeah, my bad. I don't know. Daybreak was kind of a blur for me.
I feel like it was somewhere around patch 5.0, if I had to guess.
All right. Yeah, my bad.
But yeah, that's definitely one that I really appreciate. So thank you whoever worked on that, because that is really handy, and it's a great quality of life thing, because now we actually know what we're picking up. So I definitely.
Now, if you could just make backpacks be matching colors with the stripes and canvases that we drop the items with, then I would love you, and I would pay all the money in the world to give you. I'll just give you a giant bundle of cash. I need to organize my backpacks in some way. I have too many.
I wish they said what color they were.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. When you drop them, you know how they come in little colored packages and stuff?
Yeah.
Where it's blue and red stripes or whatever. It should match the backpack. I think they have all the base colors. They could probably do it. It's probably going to be a nightmare to code and whatnot, so I don't fault them at all for not doing it, but that would be a really nice quality of life thing for me, personally.
Yeah, I kind of think in the grand scheme of things, it's probably very low on their list.
100%. Which is why I don't expect it. It was more or less a joke than it was an actual add this in now or I'm not playing again type of thing. Never playing it. I swear. I need my backpacks.
Whatever.
So what's your number 5 though, Fallout?
Mine was already taken. Mine was the offloading the weapons in the supply locker. Ooh. So, yeah, whatever. It's all your fault, Steve. So I'm just gonna say something that I really, hope sometime will be in the game is, I know it's stupid, but it's not stupid to me, because, scrapping, different things in your locker, rather than just, not just, weapons. I would love to be able to scrap suppressors and brakes and other things that break down into...
It's a good idea, actually.
Yeah, that actually is a good one.
Really would love that.
I don't really think about that much, because I kind of just keep them, I'm a really bad hoarder when it comes to games like this where you have unlimited storage, or theoretical unlimited storage. Skyrim, it's disgusting. You go to any of my houses in Skyrim. Yeah, Fallout 2, with getting too off topic, I'm sure you realize the problem that Fallout 76 presented when it came to inventory sizes, but that's a different story. Yeah. But in games, I'm a big hoarder, so that would definitely be something that would be pretty interesting, because I might actually get rid of some of my suppressors.
Yeah. At this current time, I mean, it's not applied to me right now, just because I just ended my main community, so I have a lock with nothing in it. But back when I had my old main community, that was definitely something I would have appreciated, because you have all the suppressors in there, or all these random things in there that you can break down and hopefully get some more stuff out of them. So there's a lot of suppressors. I just had extra. I'm not using this. So
yeah, look at us complaining about extra silencers in the apocalypse. Woe is us.
Absolutely.
Oh.
Well, what is your number 5, Coconut?
It was actually stolen twice. So it is the unloading guns and trucks, because, everyone wants to steal everyone's ideas, everyone wants to have a number 5, that's the same. But, I really liked the aspect of unloading the truck. I mean, the trucks didn't really bother me that much, because it made sense to, throw everything into the truck and then plop it in, but it's definitely a lot more convenient now. But the unloading guns thing, that was huge for me, because up until then, what I used to do is, every once in a while, when I was playing the game, I would just take every gun out of my locker, cycle it through, and just load all of them up, and then put them in my locker, but now I keep them all unloaded. That way I just have a massive stockpile of ammo, so... Yeah, I used to have really bad OCD when it came to that. I needed to have every single, gun have the same amount of ammo in it if it was the same type of gun. I have really big issues when I play this game. I don't worry about the zombies. I don't even play the game, I just organize my inventory. That's all I do.
Well, you might like a game called Fallout 76 then.
Oh, yes.
Love
that game. Fallout 76. Sponsor. Best game ever. Oh, God. What great game.
Okay, have to go. Bye.
Changing the podcast to a Fallout 76 podcast. I can do that, right? I have the power to do that.
Do you
I
want to
actually
vomit
did one of those
everywhere?
one time. But,
What's happening?
but moving on to number 4. My number 4 is actually one of those like bigger categories Coconut and I mentioned earlier. And number 4 for me is Daybreak itself. And for me,
Go ahead.
for me, Daybreak is so much fun, and I really love playing it, and I still enjoy it to this day. As a matter of fact, as I said very early in the podcast, I'm probably playing it again on Tuesday, and I'm probably playing it today after this podcast too. So I mean, Daybreak is something I still jump back to all the time, and I definitely understand that not everyone appreciates it, but for me, it's kind of a really cool mode in the State of Decay universe that gives me something different to try. Because while I love the base game of State of Decay, this is something that if I played State of Decay, time and time again, I can jump into this real quick, still get that State of Decay experience I love, but in a different aspect. I can get it in a horde mode. That's something a little bit different from base game. So I can still enjoy my State of Decay, just have it in a different mode.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I'm kind of one of those middle-of-the-road Daybreak people. I really like the addition of it. I like the ideas behind it and everything, but I'm not going to lie. I think I cried tears of joy after I unlocked my last Daybreak thing because I'm just like, I'm done. Like, now I can play this for fun. I don't have to worry about unlocking anything anymore.
I thought you were going to say you cried tears of joy after Undead Trials 3.
Oh, don't even get me started with that. That was like Daybreak boot camp. I almost lost my mind. But yeah.
You would have went insane, Fallout.
It was very interesting to say the least. Brent?
I don't play those anymore, but we're not going to get involved in that.
Yeah.
So, well, my number 4, since no one has brought it up yet, is Daybreak. I love
Ooh,
it.
how unique and special.
I know. Hey, I was
Why would you steal that from Blaise? That's so rude.
List. I'm taking a picture of my list. I'm going to send it to your butt. I don't know if I'm allowed to curse, so I'm not going to.
So, I smell a conspiracy here. I mean, you stole my number 4, Coconut's trying to steal my number 7?
So anyway, since you didn't talk about this part of Daybreak, no, seriously though, Daybreak, I was so happy when Daybreak came out. It gave it, like you said, a whole new aspect to the game, different currency for the game as well. I really liked that. One thing I don't like is how the currency caps, but that's for another day. I don't like that.
Yeah, I wish it was happy.
Absolutely. It is what it is. But I really enjoy playing with my friends and being challenged, trying like three-handed. I like that it doesn't scale 3 to 4. That's always fun. If you want a real challenge, do it for 3. So Coconut Kid would never play. So yeah. Anywho, so yeah, me and my friends had like a 75 win streak or something like that. They were duos. That was a lot of fun. I love Daybreak. No one else brought it up.
It was a very good idea.
Coconut, would you like to bring it up too, or no?
No, actually, I have a independent and very thoughtful approach to my number 4. No, it's actually really not that. It's the visible legacy list. So being able to actually see all of your characters in that like aesthetic end of legacy screen where everyone's there and all that. Like, I really enjoyed that because it reminded me a lot of Breakdown. Like the whole, I don't know how to, like the list, just the look of everything, it's very appealing. And I like being able to see everything instead of just having to scroll through like all the faces on that reroll screen type of thing. So, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. You can even tell from that screen, what characters have actually completed legacies before, been a leader before. So you can tell, oh, this character's been a leader before. Well, I probably don't want to get rid of them because they're probably, already beefed up a little bit. So.
Yeah. It was a small thing, but it was an important thing to me, and I know a lot of people really wanted it. And I think I even mentioned it like a while back in wishlist on the server. So like, it was something that like I personally wanted, and to see it come to realization was kind of cool for me. So
absolutely. Which, going off of that, I've mentioned it before on the stream and stuff. The next thing on my list, which personally, is to be able to take those characters from my legacy pool and recruit them in my games. I really want to do that.
110%, 1,000 million agree with you.
I don't care if I have to pay 3,000 prestige to recruit one character. I'll do it. Just make it available to me.
Yeah, like even just make a radio command or something where it's like calling in from like some kind of a refugee camp where all your survivors went to, or some like central point, like something lore wise. Like that would be so cool.
Charge me 3,000 influence, charge me 3,000 prestige. Charge whatever you want. I'll do it. Just charge me something for it.
Yeah, and I think they mentioned on stream like it might be a possibility. Like they could potentially do it. So if they did that, I think
they did say it is on their list of items. So we'll see what happens.
I really hope it's up there because that would be outstanding. Like, can you imagine if that got coupled with the whole exile idea, where like they come back into play like that? Oh my god, that'd be so cool. Oh.
Yeah, because I mean, how awesome would it be? Instead of creating a community of 3 characters you love, and then maybe like 5 other characters you don't really care about as much. How awesome would it be to start with 3? And then recruit once from your legacy pool. That way you have a community of like 10 people you already know and love.
Yeah, and that's my big problem. Like I would legacy so like more often, but the thing is like I don't want to have to pick and choose and like separate my community that I love. Like it drives me crazy. I would love to have the option of starting with like 3 people and then gradually recruiting people back. Like I mean, I would make up some headcanon for it or whatever I had to do. Like even if it's not that impressive of how they come back and it's literally just a selection screen, you pick it and then boom, they're in your community for whatever much it costs. But I would absolutely love that. That would be crazy. So.
Would you even end your main community if that happened?
I mean, that's a whole kit and caboodle that I have to think about, but I would potentially ponder it. Let's put it that way.
Yeah, see, it took me a while to decide to do it too, and I'm like, I'm going to bite the bullet and I'm going to do it. So I figured I'd do it, just kind of have a refresh, have a restart to my playing experience. Especially since I did it, right around the 1-year anniversary. I'm like, all right, I'm just going to start over. We're going to start this fresh and have fun with it.
Yeah, well, I already had that one problem with my main community where, like, I lost it because of, like, some issue, and then I had to reboot it from a prior save. So it's not even technically in my day 1 launch community, which is a bit of a bummer, but... So that would probably make me lean more towards, like, if that feature got added, I might legacy it. So who knows?
Yeah, I remember you told me it was Fallout's fault. She jumped to your game one time.
She crashed the Norma into my container fort, and it just blew up everyone, and my save got corrupted, and then I lost everyone. So it's all the Norma's fault.
I'll remember this. Don't think women don't forget.
It's like it's like the Telltale game. Fallout Girl remembered that. We'll remember that.
We store time and date.
The mind of an elephant.
Years ago, I could throw in my husband's face. Years.
Trust me, I know. I'm married. So.
Okay then. Keep it up, Coconut. See what happens, Shorty.
But now we're at our top 3s, though.
Oh, wow.
2 of my top 3 were actually mentioned already. So one of my top 3, my third one here, is locker sorting, which I believe Fallout Girl mentioned already, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so locker sorting for me is amazing, and that is something that I've really appreciated since it came to the game. I think it was patch 3.0, if I remember right, and ever since it came to the game, I just love that, because even the guns, you can separate them in 2 different ways. You can separate them by caliber or by, a gun type. So you can really separate it whatever you want there, and just to have everything neatly organized in your locker like that is so amazing, because I remember back before that, you had this random list of crap in your game, and you're like, I have to go down here. Where's that gun? Did I miss it? Oh, it's back up there. Okay, back up here, over here. Like, you were all over the place. Just look for one gun you wanted, or like, one suppressor you wanted, or whatever you want. It's like, oh man, I have to go all through this locker just to find the one item I wanted. It was so frustrating, and that was one of the biggest changes for me, because it was just such a huge quality of life update, and whoever was responsible for that on the team, thank you very much, because that was a huge thing for me.
Amen. That was honestly, like, it was such a headache. Like, I'm really kind of pissed that I didn't put it on my list, because I think that actually might have been, like, number 2 or number 1, because, like, that was such a big deal for me. Like, that made life so much easier. It made the game a lot better in the sense that I actually could plan out what I wanted to use instead of just being like, I don't want to look through my locker, so forget about it. I'll just do what I have to.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Well, my number 3 was actually Daybreak, but since I use that as my number 4, just because, you said it last. Anyways. So, my top 3 are, like, kind of strange, and I'm pretty sure, like, no one's gonna really think that these things are important, but they were important to me, so...
Hey, that's what we're here for, though.
So, in the beginning, whenever you made an outpost, you know how you abandon it, you get, like, your full amount of influence back. I like that they changed it where you only get half of it back, because, especially when you're first starting out, like, because I use them, like, I go to an area and I'll make an outpost and I, like, loot and drop everything off and go to another area and I didn't really use them as
Yeah.
outposts. And it made it much, much more difficult for me to play the game. First starting out, obviously without the trailer or anything. But to do that, I really like that they did that, because it makes you like, well, I can't make this now. Now what am I going to do? I have to drive this car that's not a good Norma and drive it somewhere, because it's not reliable like a Norma.
You mean garbage like Norma, but I agree.
No.
Yeah, no. Makes sense.
Yeah, you know what I mean. Okay. No.
Coconut's never reliable anyways.
I know, he really isn't. How many times has he gotten disconnected from this podcast?
Oh.
Okay, then.
Yeah.
So anyways, that's something I really like. That was actually my number 4, but I like that.
No, fair enough. I mean, I definitely can appreciate that, because, I actually had some things that I didn't put on my list that I was considering. Like, for example, I was considering putting the Timberwolf nerf on my list, just because I appreciate things that actually make the game more difficult and make it, a little bit harder for us to actually play. Because very early in the game, the Timberwolf could take out a play card, like 3 shots, I believe it was, and you had 7 in a clip. So basically, you never had to reload or anything. And when they actually changed that, that was so good for the game, because now you have to actually reload if you want to take out a play card with Timberwolf. So, something like that is something I almost put on my list. I'm like, well, I like these other things better, but I definitely can appreciate you saying that, because things like that are, nerfs that actually help us get better at the game really are important to me, because, things like the Timberwolf being nerfed, or having the influence, refund be less.
Or the red talent.
Those actually, right, that too. Those things basically change the way you play and make you really think about the way you play in a more enlightened way, I guess.
Absolutely.
Totally agree. I'm all for making the game harder without making it, like, obnoxious. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, harder skill-wise instead of just harder, like, put a wall in front of you, get around it type of thing.
Right, absolutely. More strategic.
Correct, yeah.
Definitely.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
But
So
I think you're up, Coconut. What's your number 3?
My number 3 was already mentioned, as I said, because I was not the person that stuck on the roads. So mine is actually the vehicle unstuck command, because
Nice.
I used to have, like, the worst time ever trying to get, like, because, I mean, obviously, I love Cascade, but not a lot of people do because of the terrain and you have to go around things, but, like, I would always end up getting stuck in that one rock, or that one fence post that didn't break, or get merged and, like, jammed inside of a light post somehow. I have a video of that. That was a new one. Like, I literally got the hood of my car embedded into the light post, and it was just spinning around in circles and almost killed my survivor. I love this game. It's fantastic. The bugs are my favorite part.
No, I remember being in a friend's game too, and they had like this one ditch, and they had like 3 cars in that same ditch. I'm like, how did you do this?
Yeah,
They're like, well, I tried to use one car to get the next car out, and it didn't work. So I tried to use another car to get that car out.
That was exactly me. I'd have a pileup of like 20 cars in the middle of my map, just trying to get like shit out of certain places. I'm just like, well, this isn't working. Because like the worst one was, without getting too like off topic, like when they got stuck in those the fence posts that are made out of the logs, like they're not the ones.
Oh, God.
You know what I mean? Like I had a police car get stuck like in between 2 of those, and I would just hit cars on like the side of the police car trying to dislodge it, and I just had cars flinging across the map because of like, I guess the pressure from the car being like stuck in there just like clipped it and just threw my cars. It was so much fun. But, yeah, vehicle
Did you ever
unstuck
get
map.
the top car out or no?
I did not. I had to switch maps. So.
Damn.
Yeah. Chief Jackson never got his car back to our base.
That's so sad.
Rest in peace, Chief Jackson.
Oh, jeez.
Fallout would have killed him anyways.
Absolutely. Fallout diplomacy.
Fallout diplomacy. I gotta use that more often. That's a great term.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you gotta get that Fallout 76 diplomacy out.
Listen,
Oh,
Fallout
God.
76.
No, it's such a bad game.
It's a horrible game.
So
It's not just
bad.
a bad. You want to get on this topic? Because I can go
No,
on
no,
this topic.
Prevent an actual nuclear apocalypse.
Ugh, don't even get me started. Oh, mighty.
We'll just move on to number 2 then.
Number 2.
So, number 2 for me is one that Fallout actually mentioned as well, that I said earlier. This is crossbows for me, and we talked about it earlier, but crossbows are so important to the game now, and having that stealth option that we didn't have before is so handy, especially in Nightmare now, because in Nightmare, you really don't want to make noise, and having a repeater or having a sniper crossbow, being able to take out zombies from afar like that, that is so handy and it's so useful because they make no noise. You can get bolts for them very easily, and they don't ever jam or break. So there's really, so many benefits to these crossbows, and I really didn't think I'd love them as much as I do now, but now I really love them a lot. How about you, Coconut?
Well, it's funny you ask. It's almost like that was scripted in some sense, or that I sent you my list before this and you saw it, because my number 2 is also crossbows.
You stole mine again?
No, but like just to add on without repeating what you said, one of my favorite things about the crossbows is the fact that you can build them like at a workstation. Like I think that immersion factor is pretty cool. Obviously they're just super practical. Like they're not for every situation, but it definitely adds to that whole stealth element, and I think it coupled really nicely with the difficulty update. Like that was a perfect weapon for that whole update. I think if anything it was like the showcase
weapon. Especially
weapon.
with the recent nerf too, you can't just take out a play card with them really anymore because they nerfed how many bolts it takes to get that.
Yeah, I don't know if that was ever even intentional. Like I think that was just a bug, because I remember the day that the Choose Your Own Apocalypse came out, a lot of people in the Discord were talking about like stats and numbers of how you can kill a play card. Like I said 4 C4, and like someone responded like, "Why are you using C4?" I'm like, "Because why wouldn't I? Do you have a better idea?" He's like, "Yeah, just 4 crossbow bolts." I'm like, "What?" And I'm like,
that was never that good.
I'm like, I don't know what you're talking about. And then sure enough, I went into a game and tested it, and it was 4 X2 crossbow, X2 Echo X2, whatever that one is. You know what I mean? Like that military one. Yeah. That one, 4 from that one destroyed a play card. And sure enough, I asked Brian Giammi, like, I think he was in the same discussion. It was in, like, the State of Decay 2 channel. And I'm like, there's no way that this can be, like, intentional. He's like, oh, yeah, no, that's definitely not intentional. And I think it got fixed, so.
Yeah, just in patch 8.0 is when they fixed it, so that is now nerfed back down.
Yeah.
So.
I also like that you can recover your ammo.
That is true. I didn't even think about
that.
Yeah,
that's a really good one, too, yeah. And I thought it was really cool how they explained on the last stream how that even came to be, like how they used the sticky rockets from the firework launchers to kind of like build off of a foundation for the crossbows. I thought that was so cool. It's a fun little tidbit. So.
Definitely. I'm kind of curious now that we mentioned recovering the ammo too, how they kind of made that work, because obviously there's some RNG in there a little bit where if you shoot, 30 crossbow bolts, you might only get like 17 back. So I wonder how that's actually determined how many you get back or not.
Well, aren't there things that make it, aren't there like skills? Something that make you recover more?
Do you mean like the technical aspect of it, or do you mean like the practicality of it? Like I don't know what Blaise is getting on.
Like the technical aspect.
Oh, okay, yeah, no. Yeah. That's definitely a whole new mechanic that they probably had to work in or something like that. Because you got the RNG, you got the grouping, you got the
what in the game would have actually like been able to be used for that. So it's probably something all new that they had to make.
Oh, 100%. I definitely think so.
Well, my number 2 is, I'm pretty sure we already spoke about it. It was just being able to transfer outside your base right from the backpack to your supply locker instead of using the car, truck, or whatever is a middleman. That was a big deal for me. Made it much easier, especially in a rush. I really like that. That's my number 2. I believe you've already spoken about it.
Yeah, Coconut mentioned it briefly, and for me, this is something that was kind of a surprise to me when it came out, because I don't know about you guys, but I never even thought about this. Like, it's not something I ever thought about, like, oh, I wish they did this. Like, it's just, I was so used to the motion of, okay, I gotta stick in the trunk, I gotta do this. Like, I was so used to that motion and so used to that repetition that I didn't even think about that being an option. But once they released it, I'm like, wow, that's so cool.
So much easier, right?
Yeah, and like that's what I said when I mentioned it. I'm like, I was just so used to, like, it made sense when you threw it in the back of a trunk and you just stored it. Like, all right, that just makes sense. But then, like, to add in the ability just to do it from your inventory, I'm like, wow, thank you. You just saved me, like, an extra 30 seconds of having to do, like, pointless labor of throwing it into the back of a truck just to spam RT, so thank you.
Yeah, it's just using that underground tunnel technology.
Absolutely.
All tech. I love it.
Hey.
It's canon now. It's 100% canon.
It really is.
Yes.
You got 2 Fallout fans here, not 76. The rest of the good ones, Anyways, go ahead. I'm done.
So we are actually at number 1 now. So my number 1 is sort of one of those category
Mhm.
ones that we spoke of before. For me, this is the Choose Your Own Apocalypse update, and for me, this is just I couldn't really break anything out of it because the whole update altogether is just so perfect for the game. It's so amazing. It's basically what I've wanted in State of Decay all along, and having the Nightmare, the Dread, and the Standard zones, having all three of those different zones like that, that is so perfect because even if you're not someone that, wants to compete in Nightmare, you have other zones that are, built for other players. So if you want like a little bit more of a challenge, but you don't want the Nightmare challenge, you can go to Dread, and it's perfect because it's really balanced for the community where if you're really new at the game, start off in Standard and, get used to Standard and then work your way up. If you're really experienced, jump into Nightmare. If you're kind of in between, there's a mode for that too. So I really love how there's different modes like that where you can kind of, play based on your skill level. And I love all the updates that had, feral packs, add Blood Plague Juggernauts. The Blood Plague is more deadly where you die in 10 minutes now. I mean, the hostiles are more deadly. Like, everything about this update is all that I've wanted. Like, yes, I'm dying more often now, but I want to die more often. Like, I want that challenge, so I really love it.
Agreed. I mean, all in all, a lot of mine had to do with Nightmare Mode and Choose Your Own Apocalypse. I kind of broke it down into more of like a different aspects of it.
Right.
But that's, all in all, that would probably have to be my favorite too. I mean, in general. Yeah. So, I agree with you. Choose Your Own Apocalypse was an amazing add to the game.
Wait, so is that also your number one, or?
No.
Oh, okay.
No.
You said you agreed with him, so I was about to say, are we really going to have a three-way? Because, like, that's also my number one, but...
Whoa! Calm down.
Oh, okay.
Let's calm down. Okay. No, mine is going to be... So, anyone who knows me, mine has to have something to do with cars. So...
Oh, here we go.
I made sure to put a lot of Choose Your Own Apocalypse stuff in there. It's not about Norma. Calm down.
I thought the same thing.
No, it's not Norma's.
I really like the addition of being able to upgrade my Norma because, I like Norma's Norma.
Hey,
Norma.
You sit down, shorty. Anyways, can I talk now, Coconut, you turd? Okay. So, mine is how they made the cars squishier, so to speak, in the different difficulty modes. I actually like that because I used to use them. I used to use my cars as like battering rams for like infestations of horde. I would go outside the whole infestation to like honk the horn and then, run it. That's obviously why all my cars got wrecked. I mean, so now I can't do that. Now, obviously, if I hit like a post, my car's on fire. So I had to be very, very careful about my driving and, obviously, I can't use it with battering ram anymore. It just made the game, like we were talking about, more difficult. And driving kind of goes along with me, so I kind of had to make that my number.
Yeah, I totally agree. It makes it more, like, you actually have to think about using your car. It makes it more practical. It's not as practical as what I meant to say. Like, it's more realistic. Like, if you're going to drive your car into a telephone pole at 50 miles per hour, you're likely going to destroy it. So, it makes sense.
So my Norma stays home, and I drive all the other crappy cars.
Oh, yes.
Go on.
Oh, God, it hurts so much to hear something that's just so wrong.
Norma. Okay, I'm done. Go on.
Yeah, I definitely love how they balance that, though, because I don't know if you both remember in the beta that we tried out, but in that beta, it was actually even worse.
So it was worse. They were like aluminum foil in that beta.
It was aluminum foil in that beta. Like, in that beta, I would hit, like, a little rock and be like, oh, your car's on fire now. It's like, well, what?
Yeah.
I hit a rock. Like, what happened?
I was like, man, I'm
It's
screwed.
like a pebble in the street.
When this comes out, I'm done.
I'm like, I don't mind that you're gonna, like, nerf the hell out of my cars, but please don't make them literal paper. Like, it was not... I was just so miserable doing that during that beta test. I'm just like, okay, well, thank you for fixing that in the base game.
And the beta, don't you guys think that was harder, too, than the actual, like, playing on Nightmare? For some reason, I feel like that beta was more difficult than Nightmare, for me. Maybe because I play with friends, though. I don't usually play it solo. I don't play Nightmare solo.
Yeah, I think I played with Blaise at one point.
Yeah, you played with me at one point. We played with Goonie at one point, too.
Yeah, and then I played with Jawa at one point. And all those times, like, it was hard, but I definitely think Nightmare. Like, 'cause what we did was, it wasn't even Dread or Nightmare. It was like a weird mixture of the both. Yeah.
Yeah, because that was before they split it up into two modes. So
I definitely think Nightmare was a bit harder than the thing that we tested. So
Alright.
Yeah,
Well, maybe
I can just remember that beta,
solo.
though. I mean, it was just funny because, like those little pebbles that are in the street and stuff like that, I'd run over there. I was like, you should be able to run over those fine. And I hit it just right and be like, my car is like black smoke now. What happened?
Yep, pretty much.
Like, what?
It was even better. Like,
what did
I was
do?
playing with Jawa at one point, and we were driving down the road, and we had one of those like pop-in juggernauts, like when they just like appear because like the rendering got like lagged or whatever.
Right.
And it was literally like hitting a boulder. I just hit that jug, and my car just like it flames out the front. I'm like, okay, well we're dead. So I hope you don't mind dying. Yeah.
Hopefully you didn't mind.
Yeah, no, he didn't. We didn't. I don't think I died during the beta. Like I played it super safe. Try not to at least.
I died a lot.
Yeah. Surprise, surprise! Here first. Fallout died in State of Decay.
Listen, I don't die often, okay? Calm down. I died a lot in the beta.
I just intentionally sacrifice people for the benefit of my community.
You know me so well.
She was testing it. She was just testing the beta, giving it the real full test.
That's
Like,
what
well,
they
I have to
wanted
see
me
what
to
happens when
do.
the character dies. So.
Hashtag blame Brent.
Hashtag blame Brent. I agree.
But yeah, I definitely appreciate what you're saying about the cars, though. I mean, because how they have it balanced now is perfect.
Absolutely.
I love how they took the feedback from the beta and balanced it perfectly. Or maybe it was already that way, and maybe our feedback didn't contribute to that. But either way, I'm happy with it. So
Let's just say it did. We'll go with that.
yes, we'll say it did. So,
I like
but I'm really happy with the balance of the cars now because it's a really challenge, but it's not too challenging where you can't get around it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Unless you're zombie, baby.
Yeah.
Love you, zombie.
Alright, so my number one is very unique, and I thought of this all on my own. It's the Choose Your Own Apocalypse update. Wow.
I would have never thought of that.
Who would have thought of that? No. In all seriousness, I don't want to put this in a way that it sounds pretentious, but like I got really good at the standard game, like to the point where it became kind of boring in a way because like I could just do everything without even caring. And the Choose Your Own Apocalypse update kind of whipped me back into shape, and it's like, oh, you're playing a game with permadeath. You should probably be careful now. I could go on for like this is how much I love this update. That I could literally go on for about 3 hours, or I could make a whole podcast by myself just talking about how much I love it. So I'm gonna try and keep it really short. But in general, like I really appreciated the effort that they put into not only just throwing together like zombies do more damage, you have less health, that's the end of it. Like they actually thought out how to make this challenging in a sense that it was a unique difficulty experience, and the fact that they even subcategorized that into a medium and a super hard experience just made me all the happier. It's the way I play now. Like I agree with. Just to wrap it up real quick, I believe Arky's Gamecast said something on his podcast saying or one of his videos saying that this update gave us a new State of Decay, and I completely agree. This is like State of Decay 2.5 because it completely changed the way that I play. It felt like a new game when I was playing the Apocalypse mode. So that's all I got to say on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, not just the zombies and the extra damage, like you said. They had other changes in there that make the game more difficult too. Like, for example, it takes longer to build your buildings now. It takes more materials to build them. So you have little subtle changes like that too that you might not think about at first glance, but now when you start the game, you have to get so many materials just to build up a base, to be a decent base. Because in standard, it's okay, find like 2 rucksacks of materials, all right, you're good. You have like everything you want. But in Nightmare now, you have to like go scavenge a lot, and you don't have as many things in the world where you have some areas that are pre-searched. So it's actually hard to find materials now and stuff. So you have to really search for it and get your base built up.
Yeah, and it was pretty funny because I was playing Nightmare, and like obviously I had all my buildings set. I was in the container for it, best base ever. And then I switched. Then the World War II update came out, and I really wanted to get those unique World War II weapons. And obviously, you had to get them in those cases, and it would have been absolutely fruitless to do it on Nightmare. So I switched back to Standard to try and like grind out those cases and whatever. And I was blown away by the amount of materials that I was refunded upon playing Standard, because I'm like, oh wow, I guess I spent a lot of materials on buildings in Nightmare. I think I had like 200 and something materials when I started up my Standard. It was ridiculous because I had like 60 already or something like that, and then it gave me like 100 and whatever, and then it was like, I don't know, it was insane. But yeah,
I didn't realize the conversion was that much.
I mean, I guess I did have a lot of like tier 3 facilities. Like, it was my main base, so I had everything like fully maxed out.
Yeah, because I think most of like the higher upgrades take at least 12 materials now to build one.
Yeah, when you have like 8 of those, because like obviously I didn't need any beds because I'm in the best base ever. So I just had
the worst base ever.
Best base ever, but I had absolutely like a ton of super high up buildings, so that's probably why. I think the hydroponics, I had 2 of those. Those are pretty up there in materials too. I forget what they are, but I know they cost a lot. So. But yeah.
See, Coconut here, he just takes the easy route. Fall Girl, he just takes the easiest base in the game. He doesn't have actually with challenge like that, so.
You guys just don't understand. I don't expect you to. You don't have the intellectual capability that us Container Fort users have, so it's understandable.
No wonder you're not losing characters. I mean, your characters have free beds everywhere. Like, no wonder you're not losing them.
If you were in the apocalypse, would you not want to take free beds? Like, I don't get that complaint. You guys are get out of here. You're not even in my league. You're not even in my league. I mean, I am above all.
You guys will just go back to standard Coconuts. You're playing it too easy. So.
I am the zenith of all bases.
We'll have to create like a just perfect, coconut mode just for you that takes away the base.
I'll tell you right now, if I had a graffitied coconut on the side of the Container Fort, I actually would just die. Like, I think I would just become a zombie, and I would just live out the rest of my life in State of Decay.
Can we murder the zombie then?
Yes.
You know what we need to do? We need to do like Fortnite does and have a meteor drop. It just drops in the Container Fort, and then watch what Coconut does after that.
Not only did you assault my very lovely base, but then you compared State of Decay to Fortnite. So that was a double whammy of disrespect, and I don't appreciate that.
No, I didn't compare. I just said that we should have a meteor just blow up that base, and then, you have to deal with it afterwards.
Well, I think we should have a meteor blow up your podcast. Ooh, wow. Drop the mic. Don't ever diss my favorite base again. It is the best base ever.
But then you can't come on the podcast anymore.
Alright, I'll be nice and cozy in my Container Fort with my luscious extra beds. All 8 of them. But yeah, that's my number 1. Choose your own apocalypse. I love it.
I agree, for sure.
Same.
So, real quick, we can just run through 1 through 10. Just say our list one more time for anyone that was taking notes at home or anything. So my number 10 was ability to unload ammo. Number 9 was teleporting characters back to outposts when switching. Number 8 was red talents coming into the base game with the contractor versions. Number 7 was inactive characters in client's community now heal at the same rate as the hosts. Number 6, unstuck command for vehicles. Number 5, UI indicators for items in the ground. Number 4, daybreak. Number 3, locker sorting. Number 2, crossbows. And number 1, choose your own apocalypse. How about you, Fawn?
Oh my gosh. Well, I had to switch the order of some of them, so let's see.
You switched 3 and 4 if that helps.
Yeah, well, okay. So, sorry, some of these might be a little bit off in the here. Okay, so number 10 was, no Zeds on the map in Nightmare, unless you're scouting. Number 9 was happy about the hostile enclave headshots, like how much more difficult they are in Choose Your Own Apocalypse. Was it number 8? Number 8, locker sorting. 7 is the flashlights, headlights is like being like strobe lights are fixed. Let's see. Oh, crossbows. And then offloading weapons in the supply locker. Daybreak. Then only getting half of the influence refunded after abandoning your outpost. And then number 2 was, I'm sorry, the same number is my bad. Transfer from backpack to supply locker, not using the cars. And number 1 was making the cars, quote-unquote, squishier and more realistic.
Excellent. And you, Coconut?
Alright. My number 10 was adding positive resource events to morale checks. Number 9 was Red Talon nerf / fixes and the soldier skin option. My number 8 was enhanced perks from allying with enclaves and the increased mission times that were allotted with that. Number 7 was the ability to heal characters while in multiplayer. Number 6 was choosing a map when starting a new community, specifically in the non-tutorial communities where you gotta roll your own community members or pick from Legacy. Number 5 was unloading guns / the truck unloading update. Number 4 was the visible legacy list. So when they did the AI update or the UI update with all the 50 legacy people, that was great. Number 3, vehicle unstuck command. Number 2, crossbows and just Z Hunter in general, but mostly crossbows. And number 1 was choose your own apocalypse. The best update ever.
Absolutely. Definitely agree there.
Some pretty solid lists all around. I think we all did pretty good.
Yeah, I think we all had pretty good lists. We had a lot of similar ones there, so that's definitely cool. And I've already mentioned all of my honorable mentions, but either of you have any that you were holding back on that you want to mention real quick?
The only other thing I have on mine are the Bluggies.
Oh,
I like the
Bluggies.
Definitely.
Bluggies.
I love the fall down reference. It's such a great terminology. Bluggies, and he had something else for them too. I forget what else he called them. Pluggies, I think too. Something like that. Like plague juggies. I don't know.
Yeah, plague juggies.
Yeah.
Pluggies. I think he called both.
That's my only other one.
How about you, Coconut? Any other honorable mentions you left off?
I think I mentioned them as other people were mentioning them in the not the ones at the beginning, but the ones that I said where I wish I added that, like those, the locker sorting, stuff like that. Those are definitely things that or the locker sorting and the
Coconut doesn't appreciate that. So.
I love it. Thank you so much for doing it. Locker sorting and the item drop icons. Those are the two that I forgot to say during honorable mentions, and I definitely would have put on my list if I remembered them. But they were just they were such great updates that it made it seem like they were there from day one. So there you go. There's my retribution.
Yeah, that's why I tried to go back before the podcast. I'm like, I know I'm going to forget something, so I try to pick out some that I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that. Like, that wasn't in the game the whole time. Like, dang. So.
Yeah. We did a pretty solid job. I think we almost hit on every major thing.
Oh,
absolutely.
I'm trying to think if we forgot anything.
The only thing we didn't mention in any capacity was probably the independence pack, but I mean, I did like aspects of that. I loved the Burninator car, for example. The Burninator is one of my favorite cars.
Yeah, but I was gonna say that's kind of hard to pick anything out of because it was so strictly a content update where it was physical, tangible items, where it wasn't really I can't remember any major additions other than just the cars, the guns, and I think there was a mission to.
Well, I'll shout out the Block Rocker too. The Block Rocker is really fun to use. I do enjoy using that.
True. Yeah, Independence Pack had a lot of.
Set that out there and be like, oh, watch the fireworks go out. So.
Oh, actually.
But yeah, if you guys don't have.
Hold on, I do have one. I do have an honorable mention that I forgot about. Close combat weapons dropping on dead survivors. That was a big thing for me because at the beginning of the game, that was the hottest commodity to trade with anyone because the only way to swap out close combat weapons was if you had the Prepper Ant mission because it gave you a regular knife as a close combat weapon. So you would need to get one of those in order to swap out. And then I remember way at the beginning of the game, everyone was trying to trade the K-bar knives because they were so rare and they were the coolest looking close combat weapons. So that's definitely an honorable mention. Being able to pick up combat or close combat off of.
And then when Zombie Hunter came out, they had more options for that because you had the Gambit come in, something like that. So you had more options to trade those.
Well, yeah, actually, the Independence Pack. This is why I remembered it because of the Independence Pack. It predated it with the barbecue fork close combat weapon, so you could buy that and then use that to swap out weapons.
That was fun.
Yeah. So.
Just killing Bobby's barbecue fork. That was always cool.
Yeah, I think my cook in my community has the barbecue fork close combat and then the spatula as his melee weapon.
Yeah, and that Freedom Ringer, that was fun too. It
didn't
really do a lot of damage. The Freedom Ringer was cool to use, even though it didn't do a lot of damage. But yeah, that's all I have for honorable mentions, unless you guys have any last minute stuff.
Not that I can think of.
Alright, so real quick, I'll recap our news for everyone from the top of the show. So we're going to be streaming Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, 12 to 4 Eastern. On Sunday is going to be the finale of the Borderlands 1 storyline, so come tune us to that if you want to see me take out that vault and have some fun with the end of that storyline. On Monday is going to be Life is Strange Season 1. We're going to play Episode 1, hopefully Episode 2 if we have time. That is our Game Pass game of the month, where we do one Game Pass game every month. On Tuesday is going to be some more State of Decay 2. and that's likely going to be Daybreak because somebody in my community requested we play that because they don't have all their unlocks yet, so they don't have their unlocks, so we're probably going to play that, get them some unlocks. And then our next podcast is probably going to be next Saturday. Well, it's definitely going to be next Saturday, but the topic is probably going to be a retrospective on Borderlands 1, kind of going over that storyline, the mechanics of that game, the characters, things like that, as we get ready for Borderlands 3 coming out later this year. So that's what we have coming up for content. But without further ado, Fallout Girl, thank you for being here.
Oh, thank you for having me. It was a lot of fun. Love to come.
Yeah, it's definitely great to have you. And if people want to get in touch with you, how can they do so?
Twitch. I have a stream on Twitch. It's Fallout Girl 4 with a U. And on Twitter, it's the same, Fallout Girl 4. I play a lot of State of Decay and Fallout, not 76.
Okay. Not 76?
Not 76. No, don't ask me about it.
I guess the fans of 76 won't be able to talk to you.
Absolutely not. Hashtag ban.
Hey, Coconut Kid, how can people get a hold of you if they want to get a hold of you?
Well, I'm not really much of a streamer or content creator. You'll probably be able to see me on the Undead Labs Discord server or on the State of Decay subreddit. Those are the two places that I frequent the most. Moderate on both of those. If you see me, feel free to @ me. If you have any questions, feel free to DM me. I'm always open to helping anyone that I can. So, yeah.
Yeah. Or he is also in my Discord as well.
Oh, yeah. I mean, if we're going to get tight, I'm in his Discord. I'm in Scarproof has one, K-Sizzle, Fall Down, all the big uppity up. Whoever's Discord that I can see that I join their stream, I join it. So, any one of those.
I hate Discord, but go on. I hate it. Sorry.
More than Fallout 76.
No. No, I do not.
I don't think you can hate anything 76. More than Fallout 76.
Oh, I can, but not many things. So.
But if you want to get in touch with me, you can do so the old school way if you want. You can email me at theblaisexperience@gmail.com. You can get me on Discord. That'll be in the show notes. I'm also on Twitter. You can contact me at Blaise XPerience. That's capital BLAISE, capital XPERIENCE. And my Xbox gamer tag is the same if you want to message me on there. You can also find me on YouTube as well, but I don't use my YouTube too often right now. So if you contact me on there, I probably will be a little slower getting back to you because I'm a little bit faster to respond on Twitter or Discord right now. And if you want to find the podcast, you're obviously listening to it, but if you want to find it in a different method, we're on Stitcher, we're on Spotify, iTunes, Google Podcasts, Radio Public, Blueberry, Podbean, and many of the directories. So just basically search the Blaise XPerience and you'll find us somewhere. And also, if you don't like to have apps on your phone or computer or something, in my Discord, if you join that, there's a channel with direct download links that you can just click the direct download link and you can download any podcast that way. That way you don't have to have an app on your phone if you don't want to. So that's a way to do that. And last but not least, we do have a Patreon. So if you want to support the content I'm doing, then for as little as $1 a month, you can become a Patreon member. And you can get exclusive Discord rewards and other rewards, like Coconut Kid here is a Patreon member. So you can get a special Discord-only channel. You can get priority to play on stream, monthly bonus podcasts, different things like that. So definitely check that out. That's going to be at patreon.com/Blaise XPerience. So that's patreon.com/Blaise XPerience. And I hope to see you all on stream, which is going to be mixer.com/Blaise XPerience. So thank you, everyone, for listening. Fallout and Coconut, thank you again for being here.
For having us.
Thank you again. It was a lot of fun.
And thank you to the listener for listening to the Blaise XPerience.